Welcome to the NFL Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by lineups.com. Nate and Josh here, week 5 in the NFL. We're bringing you 6 looks here brought to you by DraftKings Pick6. So we are going to be taking a look using DraftKings Pick6. If you don't yet have an account for that, definitely going to give you an opportunity to get in there with a nice little bonus for new users. But we're going to get right into things here as we do every week. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of the stuff we're bringing you. Plus, we got Matt Brown and company with plenty of good looks on the channel as well. So, Nate, let's jump right into the first pick that you are looking at here.
Yeah, I'm looking at Quinshon Judkins here. It's another international game in London. Cleveland is a dog, but I definitely like him to find the end zone for a third straight game, and it's a nice juice you get here from Pick6. You get the 1.2 times multiplier for him to score, which to me is kind of crazy when you have Judkins at 1.2, and then you have his counterpart Jordan Mason here, you see at 0.8 times. So you get more juice for Judkins. And I think it's wrong team favored just based on the line play here on both sides of the ball. Like the Vikings are going to be down 3 offensive linemen, I think, against Myles Garrett and company. They're not going to have much success running the ball. That means positive game script for your boy Judkins. And you know, the Browns throwing in Dylan Gabriel is going to be probably positive for the running game. When you have a dual threat quarterback, when you don't have a statue back there like Flacco, Gabriel might make a few mistakes, but it's only going to help this kid who has really just popped on film so far. Judkins, I mean, just number 1 dominator rating, which just combines the total percentage of yards and touchdowns you score. He has 2 of the Browns' 6 touchdowns on the year, right? I mean, he's averaging 5.6 yards per carry against base, getting the ball 82% of the time when they're under center and averaging 5 yards per carry on that. 7 red zone touches his last 2. And the Vikings just run D has been a disaster when Andrew Van Ginkel does not play. In those 3, they're giving up 123 a game, 5 yards a carry. The one Ginkel did play, I mean, against the Bengals, granted, but they shut them down. And Van Ginkel not expected to play here in London. It looks like he's going to be out with the neck.
Yeah, for sure. I love Quinshon, man. And I really just love the fact that we know what the Browns are going to do, which is run the ball, regardless of who's at quarterback at this point. If they're going to win games, it's going to be on the strength of their defense and that run game. And I said that before last week when they were going up against Detroit's number 1 rated defense, rush defense. And I was still like, this is at 14.5 carries for him last week. That's got to be a more like that's they're going to do that as much as they can. They're going to be doing it in negative game scripts. But yeah, you expect them to be a little bit better than they were last week in Detroit. This one not giving the same level of advantage to the Vikes. So I do still like Quinshon, and I like the note there about Van Ginkel's absence. But looking at this guy, you might have forgotten him. He's been seen on some milk cartons. His name is Jamar Chase. Not to his own fault, though, right? So 62.5 receiving yards, going more on that for this one. Looking at an opportunity, we'll call it, for him to sort of get right, because we expect the targets when they're in a situation where they can at least get the ball out, right, and get some targets going, and we know they're going to be throwing consistently. Now you start to look at Chase in a situation where he's coming back after 2 horrendous games, absolutely awful, obviously. Way better pass defenses than we're going to be seeing, including that matchup versus Pat Surtain. And Denver's basically, league best pass rush at this point, getting to the quarterback with consistency. But let's just look back at week 2 when he had 11 targets in that one, or 11 receptions on the 14 targets. Like, just went crazy with Browning, because we know he's just going to get forced the ball and peppered his way. And they're just really not going to be able to run the ball against Detroit. So it's like we knew they weren't really going to have too much success last week against Denver, and they were probably going to be playing from behind pretty quickly. Now I think we are in the same boat, but we do have a pass defense that, while it's ranked 15th in pass EPA, it is still very vulnerable on the outsides, giving things to wide receivers. And this is a guy who, if you're going to leave him one-on-one and at times one-on-two, he's going to be able to take advantage of that in a situation where there's just going to be a negative game script from the jump.
Yeah, you do know the Bengals are going to give up points, especially when they're playing the Detroit Lions, right? This is a fantastic buy low situation. I'm jealous of this one, to be honest, because if you're right, like, not only are you right, you look like the smartest fantasy analyst out there, right? I mean, taking a more pick on Jamar Chase after
on anybody on the Bengals.
They've been left for dead. But yeah, these are professionals. They're not going to quit on the entire season here in week 5. And it's definitely a get right spot, especially if the Lions are down 2 starting corners. They've already placed one on IR. But other side of the ball here, I like, Monty and this Lions rushing attack to kind of build that lead and keep you throwing if you are also taking Chase here on the more. So nice correlated pick. If we go more 50.5 rushing yards for David Montgomery. And I mean, this is kind of a game that lines up for more Monty than Jahmyr Gibbs. You look at the trends, it's hard, it's a small sample size because it's football, but you try to find games where they're outdoors, where they want to lean on their power back more than when they're on the fast track at home. And it turns out, Monty produces a lot more in those. He went more than this 50 yards in 3 of his first 4 on the road last year. He went less in 3 of his first 4 at home. And the one outdoor game that he actually suited up in, he goes for 73 yards. He played 56% of the snaps in that one. Jahmyr Gibbs just 39%. So the fact that so far this year, Monty's only at a third of the snaps, still, I mean, hasn't really dampened his production except last week when he played the league best Browns defense. And now he's going up against the Bengals defense that can't stop anything, run or pass, really. Their last 3, they're giving up 165 rush yards per game at 5.1 yards per carry. Lions offensive line is rolling. They like their power game. And I just think they're going to lean on him a little bit more because think about who's up next for this Lions team. KC is next, and then 4 straight games against potential playoff teams, division foes. They're at Cincy. They don't want to get, to use Gibbs too much. It's going to be closer, I think, to a 50-50 split. Yes. And it's going to be a situation where they're less shotgun, more under center, Goff outdoors, protect him a little bit. Don't pass the ball as much. Let's just pound the rock and get out of here with a win.
Absolutely. I'm a professional, so I'm right to speak about this because I have Jahmyr Gibbs on my fantasy team. So nobody's watching more closely what's happening with the split carries between those two guys, Gibbs and Monty. And my point that I was going to open with in response to you was, who is Detroit playing next week? And I know who it is. And that's why I was going to say you're absolutely right to like this, because if they're in a close game, you might think, oh, smash mouth football against this, KC plays in the mud kind of team. And it's actually they're still going to rely on Jahmyr Gibbs more in those closer games. He's the guy getting 2 straight drives, right? Monty's getting drives that I'm not going to call insignificant by any means, but when it's like, oh, we score and then the other team scores, Gibbs is going back on the field, right? In those sort of neutral situations when they're like, wait, we got to play in space and all the rest of it. So this is the one that you get right. I just want to throw out there too for you. Last week, RJ Harvey, 58 yards, J.K. Dobbins, 101. Jordan Mason the week before went for $116. Bashal, Tootin, 42 in the same game that Etienne went for 71. So that's their last 3 weeks trying to stop the run. We were all over J.K. last week as well. So I love this look here from Monty. And before I get to my second pick here, I just want to let you guys know that, as I mentioned at the top of the show, if you're not yet a customer of DK Pick6, and keep in mind that's not the same as having a DraftKings account. It's the same account, but you need to specifically have one for DK Pick6. You can transfer funds back and forth. It's great. But if you don't yet have that DK Pick6, you get $5 to play with. When you do play $5, I should say, you get $50 instantly in bonus picks, as you can see from the graphic there. So make sure you are checking that out. And if you do have a gambling problem, make sure you hit up 1-800-GAMBLER and get that help that you need. Looking at Justin Fields, second one here. And I think we've got to like another passing game for our boy here after a really, really nice outing against what we're calling one of the worst defenses in the league. It's just what it is against Miami. And now he's getting another awful defense here against Dallas, which is wonderful. Specifically, a pass defense that we've seen Russell Wilson get 430 yards against 1 week before he got 69 yards passing, I believe, or something to that degree. So you got to like this opportunity for all quarterbacks. And Nate and I are on a strict, if a legitimate NFL quarterback is at under 200 pass yards, and you can take more than that, you've got to take that, right? The 187 less there than 200. So at any rate, you're talking about a Dallas with a weak zone coverage. That's going to be perfect for what Fields wants to do. He does have, in terms of comparing him to the league average completion percentage over expectations, he's right there in the middle, but he's against man slightly over against zone, and the deep throws have been there for him. So I think we keep in mind that Garrett Wilson's getting all of the air yards for this team, something that should help boost his receiving yards to more, if you like that as well. But yeah, Trayvon Diggs is going to be on Wilson, and we know that everywhere else that Fields wants to go, he's going to have a massive advantage as well. So I think the fact that Fields is not going to be under pressure either helps his pass game. Like, the run game is also just going to keep whatever Dallas pressure that they were able to muster, which they're not because Micah Parsons plays in Green Bay now. If they were able to muster pressure, it would be neutralized by that run game that Dallas is going to have to sell out to try to stop, because Breece Hall and Fields are going to bludgeon them before he takes a couple of deep shots, and should be good for like 210 in terms of the pass yards at that point.
Yeah, the only hard part is deciding which way you want to approach Justin Fields getting his stats, right? I mean, it's like, does he get a touchdown? Does he get more 48.5 rushing yards? I mean, this is an interesting opportunity to do a stack in pick six, which I'll highlight here is just Garrett Wilson. Also, either more on the 62.5 yards or more than 5.5 receptions. Because if Fields is passing, like Garrett Wilson has a 36% target share this season. There's not much else there. They did find something, it seems, with that rookie tight end Mason Taylor. But he's going to be peppering Wilson, and the Cowboys they don't have anybody to match up. They don't have any safety play. They don't have any defense. It's just Alice, right?
Yeah.
Moving on to the hottest offense, I think so far in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts
are good.
Yet another one that the public is moving with us here, because Pittman is now at more 54.5 yards, and each one of those picks we've done so far, except Chase, have been moving in the more direction because people are agreeing with this logic. But another situation where he's coming off some tough matchups, right? I mean, the Rams pretty good. Secondary there, he played Denver in one of the last three. Got more than this against L'Jarius Sneed with 73 yards and had 117 unrealized air yards last week. He's run 90% of the routes in all 4 games this year. Will Adonai Mitchell be in the doghouse a little bit after his mistakes for the Colts? Alec Pierce still in concussion protocol. We don't know if he'll be able to go, but I mean, let's talk about the matchup. The Las Vegas Raiders, who run zone at the second highest rate, 85%. Pittman's been a monster against zone, 31% of the first reads against zone, 2.3 yards per route run, which is almost a full more yard than against man. Danny Dimes, of course, has been hitting dudes. And if they do go man, the Raiders, I mean, he'd be lining up against left corner Eric Stokes, who's been playing well, but is questionable with knee injury. And it seems like he wants to try to play through it, which is just not going to be good if you're playing corner in the NFL, if you're not at 100%. And you're going against a guy in Pittman who's extremely athletic, has that burst back after he struggled a little bit last year with the back injury. Clearly the number one guy for Danny Dimes, who, again, is just resurrecting his career and has been relentlessly consistent this season.
Yeah, he was never really that bad, to be honest. And I think Adonai Mitchell, you gotta take a week to think about it a bit more before we're gonna trust you. The problem for even fading Adonai Mitchell is, like you said, Alec Pierce concussion, and Josh Downs is in the wind somewhere. Haven't seen him since last season for some reason. Danny Dimes, not a fan. Downs was the beneficiary of other quarterbacks coming in last year. But at any rate, I like where you're at with Pittman. It's another buy low. Look, it's like there's going to be a time where it's come to Jesus for my man. And he's going to have to start putting up some numbers with Danny Dimes, because this offense can't be this good with what's considered to be its best wide receiver, at least talent-wise, underperforming the way he has. Tyler Warren, still going to be big, but he's got a lot higher number than he had last week. So I think you got to keep in mind, fluctuations. But good buy low spot there for our boy Pittman. But moving to my last look here, last pick I've got, going to Stephon Diggs, who came out and did work last week against a bad team, obviously, in Panthers, but broke out after, the first 3 weeks or so, right? It was really just injury time. It was coming back from that ACL and ramping back into shape for this squad. Looked good. Looked really good in that one last week, like we said. And by the way, J.C. Horn, not a bad cornerback either. So there was plenty of guys out there that can hold their own for the Panthers. Now with the Bills, look, I personally think this is probably going to be a little bit closer than what people might expect, the way that the Bills have blown a lot of teams out. I know they're going to take the Pats seriously, but that Pats defense is getting healthy as well and rounding into form. Either way, they're going to have to pass. Let's call it what it is. That pass defense is definitely a bit better than the run, but I think game script will call for those looks for Diggs. And the Bills are playing that zone, right? And when you look at teams that are playing heavy zone, including Carolina, played 79% last week, and that's heavy, right? Most teams are playing around 50 to 55%, but when you get up to 80% 80% zone. Same for when they played the Raiders, 84% zone against that squad as well. Had a decent look there as well. And we both believe in Drake May. You specifically more than Bo Nix. I think they're still really close, and I just think they're going to be compared consistently throughout their career because they play similarly as well. But May's got that run game as well that's really helping him out, and it's really actually opening things up. He's number one in pass EPA, number one in completion percentage, number one protection rate from his O-line, receiving very little pressure percentage in those pass plays for Drake May. Mike Vrabel is a really good coach, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. So I think he's going to be able to use his weapons here, and Diggs out there on the X is going to be a guy that you want to target here with just how often he's going to get targeted.
Yeah, he seemed, reports were really positive in the preseason about Diggs. He attacked his rehab really well. It seemed like he was going to be the rare wide receiver north of 30 to come out and play well after an ACL. And the early results were not great, but like maybe he just needed a little bit more of a ramp up, right? And what we saw last week shows that he does have that burst back. And it's just, it's kind of a narrative spot where he wants to play well in Buffalo, right? He really wants to play well. Those corners for Buffalo, they all have a history of success, but they're all kind of getting older, all kind of struggling this year. That Bills defense has just been a sieve, and they're going to have to press up a little bit more to deal with their leaky run defense, right? So I think Diggs will have some openings over the middle, especially if they go zone heavy.
Love it. Yeah, no, love it. I think 50 yards is still going to be buy low, and we should get this thing up and start to see it, get more than the 48.5 number it's at right now. So that is all the time we have for you guys in this one, though. Definitely make sure to continue to follow along. We're coming back each week with pick six stuff for you guys. So until we see you next, best of luck.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. CT. 18 plus, 19 plus, Alabama, Nebraska. 21 plus, Arizona, Massachusetts, Virginia. Valid only where Pick6 operates. cdkng.co/Pick6 states. Void in New York, Ontario, and where prohibited. Eligibility restrictions apply. 1 per new DraftKings customer. $5 plus first pick set to receive max. $50 issued as non-withdrawable bonus picks that expire in 14 days, 336 hours. Ends October 13th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Terms: pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Sponsored by DraftKings.